Today, we're counting down the longest lasting cars in the world. The ironclad machines that laugh in the face of high mileage and just keep on rolling. Whether you're a road warrior clocking in those marathon drives, or just someone who hates the idea of ever having to part with their trusty steed, these cars have proven they've got the stamina to go the distance. These are the rides that have what it takes to outlast the competition. And we're gonna start with an absolute legend, the Toyota Land Cruiser. Kicking off this list is a car I would own any generation of in a heartbeat. It's the Toyota Land Cruiser. The earliest versions of this iconic workhorse have been patrolling the streets and the battlefield since 1951, and they haven't stopped going since. Hell, I wouldn't be surprised if one of those old BJ models could still be fired up and driven down the trail after sitting for like 70 years. They're that good. And full disclosure, the US was completely heartbroken when Toyota discontinued the Land Cruiser for the States in 2021. But in 2024, the big boy is back and sturdier than ever. I mean, it's quite a bit smaller, being technically the Land Cruiser Prado, and it lost most of its luxury trimmings that the last full-size model had, but make no mistake, it's a full-blooded Land Cruiser. Studies from IC Cars and others have shown that over 18% of all Land Cruisers ever built have over 200,000 miles on them, and most of those are still kicking around today. And here's some really important context for all the cars on this list. On average, only 1% of cars built every year make it to 200,000 miles, so food for thought. The Land Cruiser definitely has functionality and utility in its DNA, but there's probably no better paradigm for long-lasting utility than our next pick, the Ford F-150. This is America's pickup, like it or not, and over the years, Ford has sold more of these trucks than any other model. We're talking 41 million F-150s over its full production span, you guys. And on top of that, it's the best-selling truck 47 years running. And I know, this sounds like one of those Ford ads you see during an NFL game, but I promise it's not. It's just the facts. And the facts are that the F-150's tried and true body-on-frame platform, long line of Ford V8 and V6 engines, and its consistent build quality make it an evergreen choice for someone who wants their vehicle to last. I know this might come as a shock, seeing as there have been some generations of the F-150 that, in the reliability department anyway, weren't great. But one look at the data shows that roughly 2.4% of these things are over 200,000 miles. And while 2.4 doesn't seem like a big number, when you take that number out of 40 million, that's nearly a million F-150s that are out there with a ton of miles still hauling stuff around from Home Depot. But not everyone needs a truck bed, and not everyone is a Ford guy. Good news, because the Chevrolet Tahoe is an ideal choice for the reliability-minded buyer. The Tahoe hasn't been around as long as the F-Series trucks. It debuted only in 1995, but what it lacks in a 50-plus year heritage, it makes up for in style, comfort, and pure reliability. The engines and drivetrain in particular are one of the Tahoe's key standout components, as they're known to go basically forever with very minimal maintenance. Although, there is that 4L60E. Plus, they tend to have plenty of power for passing on the freeway, towing, and making city driving more fun. The data shows that 4.4% of Tahoes are still chugging along with 200,000 plus miles on the odometer, and a lot of these have actually become kinda collectible if you can believe it. The rarer two-door Tahoes from the mid-90s are hot right now, and that added reliability will only help these things retain and gain more value over time. I remember riding around in friends' parents' Tahoes all the time back in the day. But you know what other car I rode around in a lot? The king of the people movers, the Honda Odyssey. These are the middle-class family mobile if there ever was one. And I bet you personally have ridden to baseball or football practice in the third row of one of these things at least once in your life. And there's a reason for that. They are ridiculously reliable. Why? Well, first, it's a Honda. And even with their recent recalls and potential build quality issues, in my personal experience, I've found they tend to run for decades without breaking a sweat. Also, it's a minivan that's built for families. The engine, transmission, frame, and interior are all built to handle the stresses of everyday life with multitudes of people using the same car all day. Now, some of them had some transmission issues at around the 100,000 mile mark, but truth is, most of those were never maintained properly. I know they're Hondas, guys, but fluids don't actually last forever. The data shows that 3.2% of all Odysseys have over 200,000 miles on them, And I'd bet that a good number have closer to 300K, to be honest. It may not be the coolest car on this list, but folks, it gets the job done. Sort of like this next one. Up next is the Toyota Corolla. You didn't think we'd leave this one out, did ya? Of course we didn't. This sedan has become shorthand for reliable car. I mean, what does everyone and their mother say when you tell them you want an inexpensive, reliable car? Say it with me, get a Corolla. And as lazy as that answer might seem, they're 100% right. The Corolla isn't just the best-selling Toyota of all time, which it is, but it's also the best-selling car of all time, period. Over 50 million have left the factory since the late 60s, and Toyota continues to sell tens of thousands of these things every single month. Just to keep up with demand for these cars here in the States, Toyota has to build roughly 638 Corollas a day. A day. The Corolla's pure simplicity is what makes it so reliable and popular. It isn't fancy, there aren't crazy advanced features that'll break as soon as you buy it, it's just a straight shooter with a simple inline-4 engine. Plus, they're also extremely cheap when buying used, which only makes them an even better choice. And real quick, I've gotta give an honorable mention to the Toyota Camry as well. It's just as reliable, a little more spacious, and definitely more comfortable, but does take a slight hit in the fuel mileage department. But whichever suits your taste, these two cars are basically always solid picks. Up next is, well, it's another Toyota. It's the Sequoia. Yes, these reliability lists always seem to be pretty Toyota heavy, but as you know, the reputation is well deserved. What you might not know is that the Sequoia is one of Toyota's longest lasting cars when it comes to the data. IC-Cars data indicates that a whopping 14.2% of Sequoias have 200,000 plus miles on, coming second only to the formidable Land Cruiser. These hefty body-on-frame SUVs have great V8 power and reliability, and can take a beating like few other models out there. And speaking of taking a beating, up next is a car that has been doing it for almost 30 years, the Ford Expedition. Debuting in the late 90s, the Expedition was Ford's first ever full-size SUV with 4 doors, and they wanted to make sure this truck proved its worth to the public. Its American V8, sturdy design, and heavy-duty nature has loyally served the public as one of America's first true modern off-road capable family utility vehicles. I mean, sure, there was the Chevy Suburban and Jeep Wagoneer, but out of every Expedition sold, around 4.5% of them have over 200,000 miles. And like many of the other cars on this list, it'll probably run for another 200K with proper maintenance. And while that Expedition is amazingly reliable, it probably wouldn't exist without the influence of our next pick, the Toyota 4Runner. Folks, other than the Land Cruiser, this is one of the truest blueprints for what we have come to know today as the modern SUV. 4-wheel drive, lots of space, and capability both on and off-road is all it took for the 4Runner to become one of the most beloved automobiles of all time. And of course, its reliability ain't bad either. The simplicity of its powertrain over the years, from V6s to V8s and 5-speed manuals to 8-speed automatics, has made it easy to work on, and most importantly, easy to rely on. As of now, around 4.6% of all 4Runners are still on the road with 200,000 miles or more. And even with the new model and its turbochargers and hybrid drivetrains, we think those numbers are only gonna climb. The Honda Accord, at its core, or should I say core, Japanese machines that you can count on till the day you die. Yeah, it'll probably outlive you. Much like Toyota, Honda is a brand that's synonymous with long-lasting cars, and much like the Camry, its simplicity and thoughtful design have allowed it to become one of the world's most reliable machines. For example, this person's '03 Accord hit over 364,000 miles with very simple maintenance, and that was 2 years ago. Imagine how many more miles it has on it now. But while the Accord is certainly an all-time great, it's none other than the Toyota Prius that takes the award for the most influential trendsetter. This egg-shaped hybrid is always the butt of basically any car-related joke you've heard this century. But all that says to me is that people can't escape the influence of the Prius. Apparently, neither can other automakers, seeing as a majority of them are now walking back their push towards EVs and instead doubling down on hybrids. The Prius gave the world incredible mileage, user-friendly hybrid technology, and above all else, reliability. Just under 4% of all Priuses, whatever, 4% of them have over 200,000 miles on the clock, according to the data. And it's also a Consumer Reports top reliability pick for the hybrid vehicle class in 2024. Plus, the new one is genuinely fun to drive and, in my opinion, pretty good looking. Up next, the Honda Ridgeline. The Ridgeline might not be the sexiest truck on the market, but what it lacks in sex appeal and outright rugged utility, it makes up for with Japanese reliability. It might not tow a whole lot, it has a bed made of plastic, and it's primarily front-wheel drive, but its rigid V6, plethora of useful cargo space, including an actual trunk in some models, and its consistent build quality all contribute to what is one of the world's most reliable pickup trucks in all of history. And the data? It's promising. 3.7% of Ridgelines are on the road with over 200,000 miles. Okay, straight up, we love this thing, folks. It's a model that has more or less been in production since 1935, and its commitment to dependability hasn't wavered since. Much like the slightly smaller Tahoe, we know the Suburban as a big body-on-frame four-door utility vehicle that has all the power, torque, and capability and capacity you could ever need for any situation. Its reliability comes from experience. Again, 1935. That's 90 years of development and refinement that few other models on sale can lay claim to. And the Suburban also has a really solid 6.8% of units with 200,000 plus miles. Give me a late 90s one with big tires and four-wheel drive, I'd be a happy man. I mean, who needs fuel economy? Really? Now, 90 years and a high 200k plus mile percentage is freaking impressive. But you know what's even more impressive? Try 1,000,000 miles. That's right, people, this is the Toyota Tundra, a truck that famously proved its reliability when working man Victor Shepard drove his 2007 Tundra past 1,000,000 total miles. What's even more insane is just this year, he hit over 900,000 on another Tundra, this time a 2014 model. I mean, what else is there to say? By the numbers, the Tundra is possibly Toyota's most badass truck. Roughly 4% of them have gone 200k or more, and we can't argue with that. And don't worry, my Tacoma fans, I'm gonna have that as an honorable mention here. It's a great alternative to the Tundra for folks who don't need a beefy V8 and the heft that comes with solid towing capability. In fact, go check out our Death of a Legend video about the Tacoma right up here. The Tundra and Tacoma are hard acts to follow, but if anyone can do it, it's Honda with their trusty CR-V. The Honda CR-V was a pioneer in the crossover SUV market and is still a better buy than most in its class simply because of its incredible reliability. It's compact, nimble, well-made, and helped define what is now one of the hottest segments in the car market, full stop. And the CR-V is also part of the Million Mile Club. Yeah, take that, Toyota. What are your thoughts on this list? And do any of you have any cars with a ridiculous number of miles? If so, what is it? And what major repairs, if any, have you done? Obviously, we didn't hit every car that's in it for the long haul here, so what are some that we missed? Let us know down below. And also, go check out some other content like this video here, maybe this one down here. If you liked this video, please give it a like, it really helps us out, and consider subscribing for more. Otherwise, my name's Trav, this is Ideal, see you all next week.